Hey guys, welcome back to WoT Blitz. Today we're gonna talk about making America great again. No, I'm just joking. I don't know anything about politics, but luckily I do know something about American tanks in this game. And in my opinion, they are among the best tanks in the entire game. So, today we're gonna talk about the two best American heavies. They are the T110E5 and the T95E6. I'll explain it a little bit and then we dive into the game. Why do I think they are the best? The answer is actually very simple. They are the perfect balance combination of protection, gun handling, firepower, and mobility. As we all know, these three things governing the entire game, just like in our reality. Time, space, and mass. Honestly, I would probably go as far as to say T110E5 is the perfect tank. But do I like it? No, it's too perfect. Let's take a look at the game first. Then I'll explain why. Now, since it's such a perfect tank, in my opinion, the philosophy of playing the E5, it's not about where you want to go. We should be focusing more on what the team needs us to do. In this case, they have better hull-down tanks. The Crown Wagon, the Badger, STB-1. Our fast tanks is gonna get demolished. So, at first, we decided to help them. Thus, the medium flank. Yes. I said I don't love the E5 because it's too perfect. In my opinion, imperfections makes us human. And that is also what makes it sexy. I can give you the perfect example. Formula 1. A lot of the fans these days saying that the V10 is perfect. The sound, the crystal clearness, the pitch. I agree, V10 is perfect. But I don't like it. I like V12. You can hear a little bit of those mechanical rattles. You can feel the car is alive. It's imperfect. However, it's able to bring out that human's bloodthirst, that yearn for speed. That is exactly why I love V12 more. Same thing goes for the E5. It's just too perfect. When the result is not very good, you don't blame the tank, because you know it's not the tank's fault. When you play good, you don't have that kind of satisfaction, because that's what you're supposed to be able to do. Playing the E5 is like playing the last chapter of a single-player game. You don't see the potential, you don't see the imaginations anymore. It's the end game. You got that sense of loss. I bet everyone have felt that before. Everyone knows that firepower, mobility, protection makes a tank great. But not many of them is able to explain why. Because a lot of them simply just ignore one very important skill set in this game. That is the ability to know what your teammates are doing. In other words, how well you fit in. You can't deny that this is a team game. How well you fit in determines how well you stand out. Because the enemy will always appear in those couple positions. Doesn't matter what kind of players they are. That is constant. But the variable is how your teammates react to it. So, in order to constantly reacting to these changing situations, you need mobility. Or sometimes our teammates are not in very good offensive positions, just like we are here now. They are completely in the open. 268 is able to shoot them. That's where our armor comes in. I exposed a little bit too far. But you get my point, right? In my opinion, armor and hit points are the same thing. They are both the ability to share the damage from the enemy, so that you can buy some time for your teammates to do what they are able to do. And also, as we can see here, when our teammates make a mistake, we need to punish the enemy for that, and that's where our firepower comes in. What I'm trying to say is, E5 is probably the best tank to fit yourself in all these roles where your teammates are lacking. That, in my opinion, is what makes it the perfect tank. The enemy only have 2 tanks left. I need to share a little bit of my hit points with the 777. Because as you can see, Grille 15 won't be able to help much. The other T100LT got pinned down by the E4, so we're on our own. In order to break this flank, we need to share some of our hit points. I guess the 777 exposed him a little bit too much. And we missed. It's okay though, the T100LT is able to shoot him, so should be fine. At this point, this game is basically GG. To summarize the playstyle of the E5, it's to basically fill in the gaps where your teammates are lacking or where you think your teammates are lacking. If they need the damage dealer, you be that damage dealer. If they need someone to take the punch, Share some hit points, you just find ways to hold down. Use your turret armor, wiggle a little bit. You turn yourself into one of the best hold down tank in the game. If your medium tanks needs help, you use your mobility to change flank. Your top speed is 40 something, more than capable. These are the reasons I think E5 is one of the Americans' best heavy. Certainly, one of my most recommended heavy lines to grind. You will not regret it. So, next game we are going to talk about another very good heavy. Possibly my favorite heavy now, the T95 E6. As we have mentioned in previous game, E5 is very good, but it's just too perfect. I don't like it. It's not as interesting. The E6 on the other hand, it's not perfect. What makes a tank interesting to play? For me is the kind of tanks that has the potential to fill in those gaps where our teammates are lacking, but requires skills to do so. I can give you an example, Leopard 1. Well, first, I don't like how Wargaming nerfed the DPM, nerfed the gun depression, but give the adaptive concealment. That mechanic certainly makes Leopard 1 a better tank, but it kills what makes the Leopard interesting. That is the ability to brawl. To be more specific, the ability to brawl with heavy tanks. You hear me right, with heavy tanks. It has the gun handling, it has the penetration value, it has the DPM. Originally, it has the gun depression, so you can use all kinds of terrain. Use your quick fingers to bully heavy tanks. A lot of people don't realize it, but that's how the Leopard 1 should be played. Previously, it's never a sniping tank. Now, why do I mention Leopard 1? Because it has the same characteristics where the E6 shines. The ability to brawl with heavy tanks. Same thing, basically. The DPM, the penetration value, the gun handling provided by this combat stabilization, and good gun depression. You can use all kinds of terrain. It's basically Leopard 1 in heavy tank. Unlike the E5, this tank is not perfect. Yes, they buffed the cupola, but the turret cheeks is so easy to pen still. The whole armor is like paper. By no means you can play it like a proper heavy. You have to read the map, you have to know the situation. You need to put that gun handling into use. So, when it works, you will get that satisfaction E5 cannot provide. Like for example here, we thought originally our teammates are gonna push. But no, almost all of them decided to go back. Guess what? We adapt. We use our mobility to fit in. Without any medium tanks, I don't want to push the 183 alone. Our mobility allows us to do that. And once the 183 is cleared, our gun depression allows us to use different terrain. For example here, in this distance, I'm not afraid of the E100. Yes, our turret armor is weak, but in that distance, it's not easy for him to pen. We have the penetration value and also the DPM. And this is how we brawl with heavy tanks. The tank has already provided all the tools. The rest is how big the balls you have and how quick the fingers you have. Another thing I want to mention is DPM and penetration is such an underrated combo. Because this game is not War Thunder. Every team has limited amount of hit points. And the combination of DPM and penetration value allows you to shoot your way out, even when you make a mistake. And even if you don't manage to survive, you still did a lot of damage to them. You still punish the enemy, lower their hit points. This is going to build up in the late game. And this is why I think both the E5 and E6 are the best American heavies, and possibly the best heavies in the entire game. To summarize the playstyle of the E6, very simple. Find the terrain where you can brawl with the heavy tanks. Despite their mobility, you try to avoid medium tanks like tanks in general, because your weak spot is just too easy to hit for them. So, what do you guys think? Do you agree that these are one of the best heavy tanks in the entire game? Or you have different opinions? Comments down below, I would like to hear them. And thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye bye.